Welcome to Behind the Story, where we discover the story behind your favorite stories. My name's Lisa Renee. I'm from the Collaborative Press, and I'm also a contemporary romance author of the rom-com series Fake Identity at Stake.
And I'm Naomi Craig, author of historical fiction Rahab's Courage. We had a great pre-recorded interview with Summer Dowell today. We had lots of good tips. But before we get into that, Lisa, tell me what you're working on right now.
By the time this video goes live, I'll have the pre-order up for the anthology Love, Faith and Tender Kisses. We've got a group of authors, some Australian, from the US and UK. And I'm finally, now it's February here in Australia, the kids have gone back to school. So I'm writing my third in the rom-com series. So that's going to be fun. It's best friends to lovers and just creating some really awkward moments for my characters, and because you've got to do that with rom-com, just make it even more awkward.
Does Mrs. Baxter show up?
Oh yes, I've got to put her back in, and there'll be an announcement, like just an update of the other couples that are married, and there's going to be some cool things going on with them. So that'll be a lot of fun. What about you, Naomi? I'm looking forward to your Christmas novella, to be editing that soon. Anything else that you've got going?
Now I'm working on the pre-order short story for Ezekiels Song. And this one actually covers the book of Habakkuk. He was an earlier contemporary of Ezekiel and Jeremiah and stuff like that. He was a few years before. So I'm enjoying that. It's pretty interesting because in the Bible, it says at the very last part, he has composed a song for the chief musician. And maybe you remember, but from Ezekiel's Song, my female main character, her father was actually the chief musician prior to the book. So I'm like, oh, that's perfect. So that'll be the tie-in. But it's interesting because his vision of God, he sees God coming from like the same mountain that Moses saw God from, like around Sinai, that time era. So like, what is a guy from Jerusalem doing way down south in the Arabian Peninsula? So I've been looking into like the incense route that was in existence since like about 800 BC to about 280, and that would be like the Queen of Sheba came from that area, and frankincense and myrrh you can get at the very bottom of the Arabian Peninsula. And I'm just going to tell you something that is like life-changing about modern day Yemen, and that you need to look this up. It's camel jumping in Yemen, and it's going to change your life.
Okay. All these interesting things that you find out for us, Naomi, and you do all the research, and I just get to enjoy and read it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't think the camel jumping is going to make it in, unfortunately. I thought it probably is a little bit more modern, but it was fun for me to look at. Well, they line up the camels side by side, and then there's like a packed ramp of dirt, and like these men will just jump over the camels, like that's their national sport or something. It's pretty fun.
Well, I guess they didn't have dirt bikes and smash up cars back then, so extreme sports, yeah, camel jumping, that sounds great. Okay, well, we're going to bring on our guest today, Summer Dowell. She's your best reading buddy that you've never actually met, who's obsessed with romance books that make you laugh. Summer is a mum of 6 little ones with one on the way that make up her own personal posse. Summer turned her ability to see the human in anything into a lineup of books that now inspire readers to chuckle, snicker, and even laugh out loud at the embarrassing situations she puts her characters in. Summer, welcome to Behind the Story.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about you and what you write, Summer.
So my name's Summer. Yes, I write romantic comedies. I write clean romantic comedies. That's my genre. It's probably my favorite genre to read, so that's why I got into it. I love just like that quick dialogue and the wit that comes with rom-coms, and it's just, I feel like I love nothing better than like a book that just makes you feel good, right? So that's why I started into that genre, and I just have grown to love it. And I live with my husband. We've been married 13 years now. It's one of those like, no, four. Anyways, it's one of those like odd years. You always remember like the 10s and the 15s. I think it's about 13 years and we have 6 kids. We have a 7th on the way. And we live in Southern California. And the beach is my favorite place to be. So that's why we live here. I've converted my husband. He grew up in Utah. So I converted him to love the beach as much as me. So now us and our kids, that's our go-to place. And yeah, I'm nothing happier than with a good book in my hands, reading.
Awesome. So it's a quick drive to the beach from where you are?
It is. We actually, ironically, we're moving here in about a week to even closer to the beach. So right now we're about 15 minutes away. So our new house will be only about 5 minutes away.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Cool. So I'm excited about your series that you've got out, and your latest book on schedule releases February 17th. So tell us about this particular story. What sparked it?
Yeah. So On Schedule is the 3rd book in a series. It's a series that it covers 3 friends that work in the wedding business series. And so this last book is about the actual wedding planner. Her name is Avery. Avery is, I don't know if have you guys ever taken like the Enneagram personality test or heard of that? So she's like your type 3. She's your like success driven, like achievement oriented. That's go-getter. That's her to a T. And she ends up being forced to work with this photographer that they start off a little bit rocky. They have a bad first impression on each other. They end up having to work together. Anyway, so it's just kind of going through their relationship, her kind of dealing with some of her workaholic issues that, as the story progresses, you kind of find out, it comes from a little from her childhood and things, and storyline of that one.
I love it. I actually found the Enneagram really helpful. That's a really useful tool. And I've heard a lot of people use it for developing their characters. That's pretty.
Yeah, I feel like it's fun. I feel like it's fun to like, even if I kind of already know what my character is going to be, sometimes I just like to run it through that test and say, okay, so what type would this person be?
Yeah.
Like really pull characteristics.
Yeah. And then you can kind of keep the truth of the character, because you're like, this is typically how they're going to react in this situation.
Yeah, for sure.
So what started the whole wedding business series to begin with? How'd you come up with that idea?
Did you ever seen the movie like with Jennifer Lopez, The Wedding Planner? Came out like in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Like a movie you're like obsessed with as a kid. So that was this movie I was obsessed with as a kid. I don't know how many times I watched it. I was like, I need to write a series on, like, not on this, but like based on wedding planning, because it's such a fun industry to talk about. I don't know anything about it personally. Obviously, I've never worked in it. So I took a lot of research, but that was my main, it's so silly to say, but it's like, I just love that movie. I love that vibe. The wedding industry is just so fun to me. So it's like, I'm gonna write a series on the wedding industry. So the 3 books is, the first one is about a cake decorator. And then the second one is about a florist. And then this 3rd one is the wedding planner. They're all friends. They kind of work together.
Cool. So how long have you been writing? What inspired you to start writing fiction in the first place?
So I have been writing, probably published, I would say 4 to 5 years. I mean, writing, I probably started writing about closer to 6 years ago. So I have a set of twins, and like when they were about 1 or 2 years old, I was getting to that point where I'm like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I need something outside of being a mom. I'm a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, I'm going to start writing a book. I had no plans to ever publish it or do anything with it. And I didn't publish my first book. It was actually like a historical book. But I finished that and I was like, I could try it. I could do this. Like, whatever, I could try it. And that kind of started the writing world. It's, as you guys know, it's like a whole world in itself, writing. And I don't know, I haven't looked back since. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Where are your books set?
So this latest series is set in Orange County, California. That's where I kind of live. Most of my books, like I'll mention the setting, but I'm usually more vague about the setting in general. This one I was a little bit more specific for the second book. Like this location need to be a little bit more specific, but generally my books are pretty vague. They're all in the United States, but nothing like really where you tie you to a location, except for this maybe last series.
Cool. So there might be some authors out there watching and they're starting their career and they're a mum and that you're busy, got little ones and pregnant and all this kind of stuff. You've been in this for 4 years. Like, have you got some advice that you could give someone with having balance or how you work things? And obviously we're all growing and learning and don't have it perfect. But, people are like, well, 7 kids. How do you, seven on the way. How do you do that? How do you write books? Is there any advice you can give some author mums out there?
I take it very slow. I feel like sometimes, I don't know if you ever feel this way, but I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm falling behind because I only publish, 1-2 books a year. I just don't have as much time to write right now, but it's fine. Like, I usually set aside an hour in the mornings. That's when I do my writing. My husband kind of takes care of any kids that wake up early while I'm writing or whatnot. We kind of work that out between us. And that's pretty much it. I give myself about an hour a day. Sometimes I'll write at night if I'm super motivated, but I think just recognizing that this time of life, I gotta go slow, so it's okay. And just being fine with that.
Yeah, well, that's great. An hour a day is excellent, that discipline and, we all have different ways of doing it. But yeah, two books a year, that's great. And you're very engaged on your Instagram, lots of fun doing rom-com, and you've got that personality and you're out there quirky doing don't care and do some really fun reels. So anyone, if you haven't seen, check out Summer's Instagram. We'll have some links in the show notes. So tell us a little bit about that. You just sort of fit that in, just get inspired, or how do you do your social media?
Yeah, Instagram's fun. I feel like that is probably my main actually marketing. Like, I do a little bit of paid ads and things like that, but marketing wise, I really focus on Instagram because I feel like it's worked for me in the past. But yeah, so it's fun. I try, it's like any social media, you could get sucked on there all day if you want. I try to limit myself, okay, again, kind of in that morning hour, okay, I'll put up a post, do something with it. Maybe a couple days a month, I'll okay, I'm gonna kind of batch some content for it. But it's just a great way to connect with readers, especially, I don't know if you heard the term bookstagrammers, that's people on Instagram that just post about books and share about books. And those people, I feel like those guys are gold. I've made some good connections there. They're just so fun. So yeah.
So do you send them some paperbacks or eBooks? Do you contact the bookstagrammers, sorry?
Yeah. I've grown very, over the years, just grow slowly. And it's you make connections with people. And so you send out my ARCs, so my early reader copies, to a bunch of bookstagrammers that I've kind of made friends with over the years. And I do tons of paperbacks, but I probably do 10 to 20 every book launch, maybe. So yeah, various bookstagrammers that I know will share it and talk about it. So that helps for sure.
What would you like readers to come away with saying after reading your books?
Kind of what I said to me. I love it when I can make people laugh. I love it when people love the romance part of my stories or, that kind of stuff. But I just love knowing, I want somebody to tell me, hey, yeah, I literally laughed out loud. That, it just made me feel good. I just had a good time reading this book, That always makes me happy.
Definitely. So you're seeing these comments. I mean, obviously people replying to your newsletter or comments on Instagram and that. What about your reviews? Do you actually read all of your reviews? Do you read the bad ones as well?
I do read my reviews. I usually mentally prep myself with a bag of M&Ms and no, but it's sometimes it can be a little bit disheartening. Sometimes you always get some bad reviews, but I like to read them all.
Some people, we had Rachel Huck on, and she's been in the industry for a long time, trad, and she does sort of her own thing sometimes. But yeah, so there's different advice. She might have 600 reviews, but she doesn't read her negative ones anymore. But I think when growing and learning, you've been in it for 4 years or whatever, sometimes it is good just to see, was this particular book something that went off track for some of your super fans or something like that?
Wait, what's the best money you've spent as a writer?
An editor, hands down. That's probably personal for me. I'm a terrible editor. Every comma I put in is probably in the wrong spot. I guarantee you. My poor editor, she goes, has to go through and fix all my grammatical errors. But I think my first book, I didn't actually get it professionally edited because it's a good chunk of money when you're first starting out. And I look back, I'm like, yeah, that would have been a very wise investment. Now, obviously I get all my books edited.
Yeah. So that was your historical fiction that you didn't publish?
It was actually my first. So I started out kind of more writing, not as strong of rom-coms, more just like contemporary romances. So I have like a couple just contemporary romances under my belt. But I eventually went back and had them get edited. But the first book I published I don't think I had initially.
Cool. So you got one editor that you stick with, and you just who knows you well, knows your stories.
Yeah, for grammar edits, I've used various other editors for like developmental or content edits. I've flip-flopped before, but I have one for grammar.
Yeah, cool. So recently, you've done some anthologies, like some novellas. You've got, was it Love, Laughter, and Happy Ever After? Were you in that one?
Yes, I was in that one.
Yeah, cool.
A just straight romantic comedy and anthology, or group of books. It was fun. It was a bunch of novellas. There was 20 of us total, but it was a fun little set. It was a good group of authors. We had fun putting that one out.
Yeah. So it was just available for 3 months, and then you get your rights back, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Publishing. So you publish it separately now?
So now I've made that novella a freebie on my website. So if you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get that. My book was called Her Plus One. It was an office romance. And so if you sign up for a newsletter, you'll get that novella for free from me now.
Now, how does your faith impact your writing? Obviously, you're writing sweet and clean. How does that affect like what your content is and how you have your inspiration?
So I'm sure you guys know the romance genre. There's a very strong, very big audience, I feel like, for like, that really love a lot of description stuff with their romance and things. And so I feel like sometimes there's that pull of like, oh, if I just wrote a little bit more racy stuff or maybe a little stronger language, I could get so many more readers, right? And you see people being very successful that maybe have a little different writing style than you. And sometimes it's like, oh, that's a little frustrating. But for me personally, a lot of it is faith-based. It's like, oh, I know I personally don't read those stories or books, and I don't want to put those out. I don't want my name attached to like things like that. So I feel like for me, my faith is, okay, what level of cleanliness would I feel comfortable writing? What level of cleanliness do I want to give my readers? My books don't have any like direct faith, I guess, in them, but just, I guess, cleanliness level where there's no language, no intimate scenes, things like that. You could feel comfortable with a teenager reading my books in terms of.
Yeah, great. So as a marketing sort of point of view, so what was your decision? Did you feel like Sweet and Clean like had a bigger market? Because we had an agent on, Karen Drew, is that her last name, Naomi?
Karen Beery.
Karen Berry, sorry. So many Karens out there. Anyway, she's gone, she went into clean and wholesome, and she's an agent and also publishing, but she was saying she feels it's a bigger market. Have you heard that? Do you find that then writing like in a subgenre Christian romance sort of thing to Sweet and Clean?
I think, yeah, Sweet and Clean, I think it's a very big market for sure. You get a lot of readers through there. I think honestly the hardest part is like, that divine line. It's okay, sweet and clean. Like I feel like the terms that are used in the industry are sometimes can kind of get conflicting. Like, okay, sweet, is that like sweet? Like there's just the terms kind of get muddled, or clean or wholesome, and like so sometimes I'm like, maybe I should put like faith in mind so I can be very strict. Like, yes, this is a faith-based romance, just so people understand what they're getting on my books. But I think for sure the Sweet and Clean as a whole reader, that's a big group of readers. You can connect with them.
Yeah, that's right. And I think there are a lot of Christian readers reading the Sweet and Clean, and they make comments or something on keep their authors like, I didn't appreciate this word, and we've spoken to some Sweet and Clean authors, you know what I mean? So I think a big market is still Christian readers still, but, you know, obviously, you know, they're already, you know, they can go to church if they want a sermon sort of thing. They just want some clean entertainment. They know it's not going to make them cringe, you know, with something that pops out, you know, so they just want to relax and enjoy, have some fun and entertainment and be inspired, because you can still have a really deep character arc, you know what I mean, and the journey, and learn something, because, you know, we're all going through life experiences. So yeah, that's great.
So what advice would you give to someone before they started writing their first book?
I wish that I had read more plotting books. I think I wish I had been more, I don't know, just like the strategy behind writing a story a little bit more than I was. My favorite book I always go back to is the To Save a Cat Writes a Novel. I feel like that's the one everybody has read or uses. I just like it's a great way to just make sure you know what you're getting into, where your story's going, whether you're a pantser or a plotter. It's just good to know, like, okay, these are some points I want my story to hit, you know.
Yeah, that's a really helpful one. I just use that one too. So
excellent.
Yeah,
So as a self-published author, you know, it's hard out there with all these other books and you know, getting your name out there. Other than Instagram, what's your best marketing strategy that you found?
I do a lot of newsletter swaps with other, like, usually like romantic comedy authors, or at least contemporary romance authors, just swapping newsletters. I like Facebook groups, you know, kind of popping in and out of some of those. I do a little bit of paid advertising where I'll, you know, ads on Facebook or Amazon, which have been hit or miss for me, but a lot of it, my core is Instagram, then usually newsletters, I'd say, is second best for me.
Yeah. So how many books have you actually got out at the moment?
So I have, this will be my, I can't even do the math. This will be my 8th full-length novel. I have a couple novellas kind of floating around.
Yeah, great. Well done.
So what is your favorite part of the writing process?
Oh, my favorite part. You know, it depends. But I like plotting a story. It's fun for me. It's fun to start out and like kind of just imagine up characters and imagine scenarios and what they're gonna go through. And then you get to that like middle part of writing a book and you're like, this is the worst book I've ever written. And then you get over that hump and you're like, oh, this is great. This is a good book. Probably the middle is the hardest, but I like the beginning and the end parts, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously being a rom-com author, you've got a good sense of humor. So other than, you know, having 7 children, nearly 7 children, what's something quirky that our readers it'd be interesting for readers to know about you?
I feel like, you know, I don't feel like I'm a very interesting person. I feel like we all don't think we're very interesting people. But I used to be really into calligraphy, actually. I used to work, before I got into books, I did calligraphy, and I did a lot of kind of like logo design and things for companies, which I feel like I'm like, this is like a chapter of my life. Like, I totally have closed. I never do it anymore. But
Yeah,
what's my life about, you know, 7-8 years ago.
so you're doing your own covers, aren't you? You really enjoy doing that?
Yeah, I do enjoy that. I love the labor of love, I always say, because longer I should probably just hire it out, because, you know, whenever you do something, I'm so much more nitpicky. But
Well, they look great. So they look professional. Maybe you can do them for other authors as well.
I know. And that's why a couple people have asked me, I'm like, I'm sorry. It takes me way too long. I'm too into the details.
Yeah, it really is full on. I'm also the same. And I've just hired someone to do a rom-com, but she's actually going to be drawing the characters, the cover. But yeah, I love doing the graphics and that. But yeah, sometimes it's just easier for someone else to come up with something. And I'll probably get the files though, and probably change
Play with them.
with maybe just the back. I'll try and resist.
So what are you working on next? What comes out after the wedding series?
So I actually published one of them. It's just gonna be like a series of shorter, like novella length, more like longer, I guess, novellas, based on holidays. So I just released a Christmas one this year, and I'm planning on doing like a 4th of July one in the summer. And then hopefully I'll do, I haven't decided yet, either a Halloween or a Thanksgiving one. So I'm just trying to hit all the major holidays and kind of just get a novella based on them. I feel like it's fun to read a quick holiday novella every once in a while. So I figured this next year I'll be a little bit busy with the newborn baby. So I'm trying to shoot for the novella length instead of full length novels.
Yeah, that's great. I actually did a novella and which I really enjoyed, and I used a beat sheet sort of to keep it tight. It was 16,000 words, and when I went to go and write a novel, it was like really hard to get the book. I was like 44,000. I was like, come on, I'm gonna get to 50.
Yeah.
Like you learn how to just get the story out quicker and not mess
Yeah.
around too much internal dialogue. So what's the rough length of your novellas? Like how many words? Or
The Christmas one, I want to say it was a little bit longer. It was like 35,000 words, I want to say. So it was, I'm sure I could have, if I really worked it, I could have turned into a full-length novel, but I'm sure they'll all be around that 30,000 words, give or take.
yeah. So what's your goal? You're going to do Christmas, Valentine's?
So my next one will be 4th of July. I'm hoping to have one to cover most of the major holidays, like maybe a Valentine's one, a Christmas, like a Thanksgiving one.
Yeah.
Ambitious, I get.
Yeah, and then you might put it in a box set or something like that, or
yeah, I'll probably eventually, once they all come out, put them in like a box set.
Yeah, well, be sure to like Summer on Instagram, follow her around, and keep in touch with what she's working on. Summer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, guys. This is fun.
well, remember to connect with Summer. We'll have those links in the show notes, but don't forget to enter the draw because she's offering a copy of On Schedule to one winner, as well as her free book on her website, Her Plus One.
And we also have lots of goodies for you, our reader, in the link in the description. If you are into historical fiction set in Bible times, I've got my novella. It's called On Desolate Heights. It is about Balaam and his talking donkey.
And I have my free novella, Fake Engagement Mistake. It's a rom-com set in a small town, a Christian rom-com, and you can get that actually in the audiobook for free or the ebook from my website.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Behind the Story. Until next time, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith.